Welcome to Iraqi Dinar Updates. Forget the noise, and let's get to the core. We dissect the critical elements of security, stability, and integrity that are reshaping Iraq's financial landscape. This isn't just about numbers, it's about a nation's rebirth. Join us for the full picture. Imagine this for a moment. You're a graduate student, working toward a PhD at one of the most prestigious universities in the world, Princeton. You're deeply committed to your research, curious about the world, passionate about understanding the complexities of the Middle East. You make the bold, calculated decision to travel to Iraq. Not as a tourist, not on a whim, but as a scholar. You go to immerse yourself in the culture, to speak with people, to get first-hand knowledge that books alone can't offer. Your goal isn't fame or fortune, it's understanding, knowledge, truth. And then, in the middle of your pursuit, everything changes. That's exactly what happened to Elizabeth Tsurkov. A dual Russian-Israeli citizen and a Princeton doctoral student, Elizabeth disappeared last year while conducting fieldwork in Baghdad. She wasn't there on vacation. She wasn't there for politics or espionage. She was doing what researchers have done for decades, seeking answers in a part of the world that matters deeply in global affairs but is often misunderstood. And then she was kidnapped. Reports say she's been held ever since by a Shiite militia group, one with ties to Iran. Now, for over a year, she's been kept away from her family, her academic work, and her freedom. And for months, little was known about her whereabouts or condition. For her family and for those who follow international human rights, it's been an agonizing silence. But now there's a flicker of hope. Word on the street is that Elizabeth may soon be released. The kind of development that doesn't just matter for her or her loved ones, but that has broader implications because if she's freed, if she returns safely, it sends a message to the world. It suggests that Iraq, or at least some elements within it, are making an effort to resolve dangerous, volatile situations. And maybe, just maybe, that means the winds are shifting. Now, let's be clear. Iraq is still classified by the United States as a level 4 travel risk. That's the highest warning issued by the U.S. State Department. It literally says, "Do not travel." That designation isn't given lightly. It's reserved for nations with extreme instability, ongoing violence, terrorism, kidnapping threats, so you name it. And sadly, for many years, Iraq has been a place where travelers, aid workers, and journalists have faced enormous risks. But here's where things get interesting. If Elizabeth is released, and if Iraq plays even a small role in that process, whether directly, through pressure, or simply by allowing space for it to happen, it could indicate a pivot. Not a total transformation overnight. Not a magic fix. But a shift. An opening. A signal that Iraq wants to be seen differently, that it wants to be reinvited into the global conversation. And that matters. Because when you look at what Iraq could be, not just what it's been, there's immense potential. Imagine a version of Iraq that isn't defined by headlines of conflict or chaos, but by cultural richness, economic opportunity, and regional diplomacy. It's not a fantasy, it's possible. But it starts with steps. And freeing someone like Elizabeth Tsurkov, an innocent, peaceful academic, would be a very meaningful step. Now, it's important to understand the wider context. Iraq is a country that's long been caught in a web of internal challenges and external pressures. For decades, it's battled with war, sanctions, terrorism, corruption, and political fragmentation. It's also a place of extraordinary history, the birthplace of civilization. The home of Mesopotamia. The land of ancient cities, of poets, philosophers, mathematicians. There's so much more to Iraq than what we see in breaking news alerts. And that's part of what makes Elizabeth's story so heartbreaking. She saw Iraq's complexity. She wasn't afraid of it. She engaged with it deeply, respectfully. She wasn't there to exploit or interfere, she was there to understand. And she paid a heavy price for that choice. But here's what we have to remember. If her captors choose to release her, if Iraqi authorities or intermediaries help make that happen, it could send a ripple far beyond her individual story. It might help nudge the State Department to reassess its travel advisory. Not immediately, and not entirely, but gradually. And that would open the door, or maybe just a crack out for what Iraq desperately needs: reconnection. Reconnection with the academic world. Reconnection with investors. With humanitarian organizations. With people who want to help rebuild, not just criticize from afar. Iraq has a young population. It has oil. It has untapped tourism potential. It has natural beauty, religious heritage, archaeological wonders. And most of all, it has a generation of Iraqis who want peace, opportunity, and a future not defined by fear. But those possibilities stay locked away as long as the travel ban stays in place. As long as the world sees Iraq as a danger zone, not a destination. And that's why this one Qazi Elizabeth Qazi carries so much symbolic weight. Because sometimes it only takes one story to change the narrative. One gesture of goodwill to begin rebuilding trust. And of course, releasing one person doesn't erase decades of violence. It doesn't guarantee safety for everyone. No government is going to lift the level 4 travel warning based on one incident alone. But symbols matter. Small steps matter. And sometimes those small steps lead to bigger changes. That's how progress works, and not in huge leaps, but in steady, thoughtful actions. Think about what would happen if the travel advisory even dropped just one level from level 4 to level 3. That would signal to universities that maybe, with precautions, fieldwork could resume. It would suggest to small businesses and NGOs that maybe, just maybe, projects could be launched again. It would tell the world that Iraq is not frozen in its past, it's evolving. And look, none of this changes the fact that Elizabeth Tsurkov has lost over a year of her life to a nightmare she never deserved. No political shift can give her that time back. But what should happen is that her release sparks real reflection. Real questions. Like, how do we protect academics in volatile regions? How do we engage with Iraq in ways that don't ignore the danger, but also don't write the country off entirely? Because here's the thing. Iraq is not a helpless place. It's a country at the crossroads. And crossroads are where choices are made. So if this moment leads to more international attention, more pressure on armed groups to stop targeting civilians, and more cooperation between Iraq and other nations, that's meaningful. That's how slow, imperfect, but genuine healing begins. Elizabeth's situation is also a reminder of how fragile progress can be. How one incident can undermine years of diplomatic work or discourage young scholars from engaging with difficult regions. That's why her safe return matters on so many levels, and not just personally, but geopolitically, intellectually, emotionally. We all hope she comes home soon. Her family, her colleagues, her fellow students said they've waited too long already. But when she does, let's not just see it as the end of a nightmare. Let's see it as a signal. A beginning. A chance for something better. Because if Iraq can show the world that it takes the safety of visitors seriously, even under difficult circumstances, it starts to rewrite its story. And stories matter. Narratives shape policy. Perception drives investment. The difference between isolation and inclusion can come down to how a country handles moments like this. Now, none of this is easy. Iraq has a long road ahead. The security situation is complex. Militia groups still have power. Political tensions still run deep. No one's saying that releasing Elizabeth Tsurkov will suddenly transform Iraq into a tourist haven. But it might plant a seed. It might open a conversation. It might soften a stance. And that's how change begins, quietly, cautiously, and often through human stories. So here's to Elizabeth. May she come home safely, quickly, and without conditions. And here's to Iraq, may it choose to walk a path toward openness, toward safety, toward trust. Because the world is watching. Not with cynicism, but with cautious hope. And sometimes, hope is exactly what you need to move forward. Just one life saved. One choice made. One signal sent. That's all it takes to begin again. And if this is the beginning of something, if this is the start of Iraq stepping forward into a more secure, more cooperative chapter, then history will remember this moment not just as a rescue, but as a rebirth. Let's keep watching. Let's keep hoping. And let's never forget that even in the most complicated places, humanity still has a chance to shine through. Remember, the power of this transformation lies in its foundation, security and stability. We're witnessing history in the making. Make sure you're part of the conversation by liking this video, sharing it with others, and subscribing to Iraqi Dinar updates. We'll continue to track every step of this monumental journey. Thanks for watching.